Looks like we're live. Once again, we appreciate everyone being patient while we work through some IT issues here. But once again, this guy needs no intro. DJ Icon, one of my favorites here. He's hanging out with his pup. This guy holds residencies all over the world, in Las Vegas. And, I'll let you kind of turn it over and just kind of talk a little bit about kind of what you're doing. But we're just excited to have you on the Parlor Talk. And today we're talking traveling DJs, right? So the trials and tribulations you go through getting on a plane, off a plane, hopping into clubs, off of clubs, leaving after your set, and just, sometimes just living in an airplane. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today.
I mean, that was a good intro. I like that. That was good. Yeah, man, it's, I've been doing it a long time, and, I'm a dad. I have 2 kids, and, I'm married, and that's really like the hard part. Is just being away from your family so much, especially as you just get older and especially like, when I first started, I would always just like party a lot and drink and hang out till 5 o'clock in the morning. But, that kind of stuff kind of changes once you got to be on a plane to somewhere the next day, you can't really do that anymore. And,
Right.
you always walk a fine line with like the promoters and owners and everybody there, like trying to have fun but still this is like a job, it's a career. I can't. It sucks rolling to the airport drunk or hungover and then having to get on the plane and go do the same thing the next night and then have to go home and hang out with your family. You know what I mean? That's always like the worst.
Yeah, and I'm sure those miles and the time changes really wear on you sometimes.
It does, but it's super fun though too. It's not something that like I ever want to take for granted. I got to see the whole world, and it's been amazing. It's what I wanted to do. It's my only real job since I was like 18 years old, being a DJ. So
yeah, it's incredible, man. And the content's fantastic on your Instagram and your website and all over the place. So,
thanks, man. Appreciate that.
No, and it's good because we talk about it a lot. As a lot of our like people that follow us and people that are live on the Facebook and the Instagram and the YouTube are younger DJs in the area that are in our network, and they look up to guys like you. So we're excited for you to kind of share some of your tidbits with them because a lot of them share that same dream. 18 to 21 years old, looking to get out there and just spin records and play music and make people dance for a living. So you've done that, and
it's an incredible life if you can make it work, for sure.
That's awesome.
It really is.
So we know that you've played in over 28 countries. Which is your favorite? Or where would you like to go back to?
Man, that's a tough one. Tokyo is probably my favorite international city, so I would love to go back there a little bit more. I had a ton of fun in Vietnam. That was really fun. I mean, I've had a lot of fun in actually Scotland. I made some really super good friends. And like that country was amazing. I'd love to go back there. I really haven't had a bad international experience. Everywhere I've gone overseas has been really pretty amazing. And I've been fortunate enough to go back to most of the places like multiple times, which has been really fun. I'd like to go to some other places I haven't been. Like I've never been to the Middle East. I've never been to Dubai or anywhere there, or like New Zealand or Australia. I think would be super amazing. It's probably the best trip I ever took. I got to do like a tour in Europe, and we got to go to Switzerland for like 5 days, and that was pretty awesome. It was it's just like you see like in the movies, just these crazy big mountains, and I don't know, it was awesome. It was really cool.
That's great because you kind of get the lifestyle experience, and you get to meet people and their culture and what they do, because it's a lot different.
And most of the time, like when you go out of the country, like they're so happy that you're there. I've never had the first time I ever went to Asia was a little. I had to get used to it. This was like 10 years ago, and everybody was like, "Yo, when you go there, it's gonna trip you out. People are just gonna stare at you." And you'll think you're not doing a good job, but that's just their culture. And that's changed a little bit now. Like the new generation, like dances a lot more. But when I first went out there, it was like a total trip. I was like, oh my God, like you're sitting there like, yeah, like trying to like, do your thing. And everyone's like just staring at you, and they're like, dude, you're doing great. And I'm like, really? Like everyone's just like staring at me. But that's just like a respect thing, I guess. yeah, over there. But yeah, that was like a total like kind of like culture shock, I guess. I'd never seen anything like that. And then I would say the first time I ever went to London was really funny because I figured that like most places that want to hear hip hop, like in other countries, they're usually like 6 months behind. Generally speaking, like where we are here. But there, like I got off the club and like the promoter picked me up and he was like, "Oh man, you got this new song," and it was like a track that just came out like that day. Like I downloaded it on the plane over there, and I was like, "Wow, you guys know about this?" And like at the club, they only wanted to hear like the most brand new like hood ghetto hip hop, and they knew all the words. I was like so shocked by it, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, it's been super fun, man. International travel is like amazing. It's so fun.
And it's great. Like you get to get in front of different types of crowds. So I know you hold some residencies right now in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, so I play pretty much in Vegas everywhere in Vegas once a month, except for any of the Wynn like nightlife, so like Excess and those spots.
Right.
Only because they're strictly like Diplo and Major Lazer and like those like guys. They're not dealing with anybody like it at our level. It's only
Fair.
like
Fair.
people that sell tickets, like huge amounts, like $100 million contracts. That's who they're messing with. But yeah, I pretty much play everywhere else in Vegas, like once a month, which is like really fun, like Omnia and Light and like all the spots, which is like really cool. Those are really fun rooms to play.
Yeah, because everyone is there is to party. So every night, that set of people is out having the time of their life, and you get to entertain for them, which
Yeah,
is
and it's
killer.
cool because it's always like new people. Like industry parties are a little bit different. Like if you play Wednesday night at One Oak, for instance, like you get a lot of like locals there, so you see a lot of the same people. But for the most part, you're always playing for like a different crowd, which is like really cool. And I think it makes you a better DJ than just playing for like you get like people will come in from like other areas and they're really good at like an Atlanta DJ will be really super good at playing like music for Atlanta, but then you take them out of that and sometimes they like have a problem with it. It's only because they're just so used to playing for like that culture of people, right? But in Vegas, it's always every time you play someone different, so you have to be really good at like reading the room and up on that kind of music like from everywhere. So I think it's been really good of like helping me maintain my career just because I'm always I have to play for so many people. I can kind of go anywhere and typically get the job done.
Yeah, that's good. And that kind of leads us into our next question is when you're prepping your sets or you're getting your crates ready, are you preparing for an East Coast, like New York spot differently than a Vegas spot versus,
No,
Tokyo?
I used to like back in the day. I think that there was like a definite difference between like New York and Vegas and LA and Seattle and Miami and whatnot. I think they all had like really unique sounds and like you kind of had to tailor your set to that sound. But I would say probably over the last 5 years, that's kind of gone away. Like, I think the sound of good just party rocking DJing has kind of become more universal. And I really don't know what the reason for that is. I couldn't really tell you. But not really. Like I may go onto like a website for like a radio, like a local radio station, just to make sure there's not like some song that I've never even heard of before that's like huge in that area, right? But for the most part, like everything that works here works everywhere else, or vice versa.
No, that's good, and that's like good feedback for some people that are looking to travel too. I don't need to stress out doing like anything crazy.
No,
I think,
no. I always tell people like the best traveling DJs that I know are guys that just kind of keep it like straight down the middle, if you will. Like you don't want to shock the crowd with something like that's, in my opinion, that's always kind of like the worst thing you can do. Just keep it. I don't want to say keep it safe, but just play stuff that works, and that's like the best way to keep the energy up and keep people dancing is to play music that they like, and if you know that they like it, play it. Like it's not it's not rocket science.
yeah, no, that's just awesome feedback, and definitely for the people watching, take some notes, man. So tell us about. We know you work with the Club Killers. Did you produce? Are you putting out edits, remixes, bootlegs? What's like kind of your vibe, and how are you like bonding with those guys?
Yeah, so last year I took a job with them. I was the creative director, so I was in charge of kind of putting together all of the like creative stuff for their like merchandise and just kind of like in charge of like the branding and all that. Then about 2 months ago, I stopped doing that. I still super involved with the company. I signed a record deal with DJ Silver. So for a thing we do called Roadhouse. Okay. So him and I have been putting out tons of like edits, and that's actually the reason I stepped away. Is we're just solely focusing on like doing music for that. So right now we're putting out like 3 or 4 edits a week on Club Killers under that, and that's kind of music of like every genre. It's not, we'll put up like, anything that we think would just rock a party, we'll put up. It could be country, rock, old school, hip hop, trap, whatever. We'll just make music that we just think rocks the crowd, from every genre. And we've been really concentrating on that, like pretty hard for the last couple months.
That's awesome, and I think that's kind of what the clubs need right now, is because there's not a lot of like the new music isn't really coming out so hot. So recreating old stuff that hits. I mean, that those are always useful. Like I could always use a new edit or a new update on something. So that's great that you guys are putting that out.
I think that like lately, over the last like 6 months, I've seen the like more of the, I don't want to say like mashup, but more of the like true open format is coming back a lot. A year ago I wouldn't necessarily be playing like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I'll drop in a good like Red Hot Chili Peppers like remix or something, and people love it. I won't do it in every room, but I would say a lot of that kind of music is definitely like trending back, because like you said, a lot of the new music is not really that exciting. There is some, of course, but I would say as a whole, and I think there's been like a big, huge split in nightclubs where it's like you had rooms that people said were open format, but that was just a word people use for hip hop. And then you had like house clubs. So when you go to an open format club, you were just playing hip hop. And then as hip hop got more and more slow, I guess I would say, and more like ghetto, I think, like mainstream hip hop got a little more ghetto, I think, then, the average person wanted, they were just kind of trying to bring it back to more. They don't necessarily want full on EDM, but they also don't want like just really 70 BPM hip hop either. There's like this whole area that was kind of gone for a while, and now that's really starting to come back, which I love. I love being able to play everything throughout a night, not just one thing or the other.
Yeah, and exercising all those BPM ranges, I think, is super important to be just an open format guy too.
Yeah, it's always super fun to like, when you're playing hip hop and then be able to play some like high energy stuff to break it up, and then I don't want to play high energy stuff for an hour, right? So play a couple of those and then drop it back down, and then play some stuff that people can sing to and drive some revenue to the bar, and do all that kind of stuff. It's important, and it's also, I think it makes the nights go faster, and you have so much more music to choose from that way. And there's like a million great edits out there of every song you can think of. Yep. So there's a lot of good music to play with.
That's all really awesome feedback. So we just appreciate you coming on. Where can people find your stuff? Do you have a website too, in addition to your Instagram, right?
Yeah, so you can find me at DJ Ikon with a K. You can find me at www.djikonlive.com or www.roadhouse officialroadhouse.com.
Killer, man. Well, we just appreciate you taking the time, being patient while we got through some of the IT stuff here. But
I get it. Netflix and chill, man.
Yeah, you and all 1.5 zillion people on this planet trying to
billion
get on the
internet.
internet.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
ridiculous. So Ikon, man, we appreciate you. Everyone go support him. For everyone that's on the YouTube and the Facebook, we'll be putting his links down below in the description. And make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. Next up, we got DJ Kastra. So Ikon, thanks, man. Be safe out there, and we'll catch up soon.
Guys.
All right, man.
Thanks, bro.
Later.
All right, so sit tight, everyone. Next up, we got DJ Kastra patching in. So we'll be back to you in just a few.
Do you wanna blow my horn? Do you wanna blow my horn?
So next up, we got a really good friend of mine, DJ Kastra. This guy is a Jersey Shore guy, but he's putting out some mega tunes. We're talking things like Timmy Trumpet and Tube DB, top 10 chart breaker, and a ton of other amazing music that we're going to talk about today. So, Ray, what's going on, man? You can hear me? Everything's good?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, man. What's going on?
Awesome. Well, welcome to Parlor Talk. Thank you for supporting us. You're here with myself and Chris Lead, and
What's up, Ray?
Today is
What's up, Lead?
today's your artist spotlight, man. So really what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just run through some stuff so people, our followers, can get to know you a little bit better, and then we're going to highlight a couple of your tracks. We got some new releases and some unreleased stuff, I think, that we're going to go through. So why don't you just kind of just, I gave you a little bit of a runway there, but go start with an intro. Just tell people what you're all about, like, Kastra the brand, man. Go ahead.
Cool, man. Yeah, so I'm Kastra. Obviously, I'm from Bradley Beach, New Jersey. I've been an active DJ and producer since about 2012. I'd say my style is somewhere in between future house and progressive house at this point. It's very vocal based, and really hooked on like synthwave recently. So been incorporating that to a lot of my sounds. I've been kind of all over the spectrum from my career, though. Had a big stint with like Melbourne Bounce and Big Room, and then gradually kind of got more into songwriting, and that's how I've been able to do radio tracks and all that kind of stuff. But I would say probably over the last 8 years, I've been in some spectrum, every spectrum of dance music.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And we're there. Our team's always following you, but you recently, this past year, had a huge track come out with Timmy Trumpet. Tell us about that experience a little bit, and plug it.
Yeah, man. So it took about 4 years for it to finally come out. So the track was "What's Up," and it's a track that I made with him in Jersey, probably about like 3 years prior to it coming out. And when he was first coming to America, he wasn't nearly as big as he is now. I had put a bunch of tracks out on Hustle Recordings, which is the label that he signed to. So when he was coming over to America, he was looking for artists to take sessions with. So I guess the label said, reach out to this kid Kastra. We just signed a bunch of music from him. So he got in touch with me on Twitter, and we got in the studio, made that song, and then it took forever for it to finally come out because obviously Tim saw like a meteoric rise in popularity. So he kept just piling on releases, and mine just kept getting pushed back until finally we got the vocal on it, and we went through like 2 or 3 of those, and then it came out in January of last year. It went to #1 on Radio Metro in Australia. It did, somewhere in like 11 million streams on Spotify, and it was great. It was really great for me. The exposure was out of this world, and he's totally cool, man. Just a very down to earth guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. We saw it was all over the festival stages last year, and still in rotation now. So, dude, that's killer. So, Chris, I think we got a couple Kastra tracks lined up here. Do you have them?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about what's the first one you got lined up. Ray, what was the last track that just came out? I think Holly's going to look it up.
Well, besides a remix that I had come out, the last single that I had come out was a song called Around Me. It came out on Tritonal's Enhanced Music. That came out in January. And it's featuring a guy named Runaground, who he had like a huge hit called Chasing Me Down. It was all over. If you were at DJs anywhere 3 years ago, you definitely heard it.
Oh yeah.
And it was. I also collabed with a female artist out of Las Vegas. Her name is Blue Ivy.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, Chris, you want to cue it up? We'll drop it. We'll do.
Yeah. This is Around Me by Kastra.
Check it out.
Been climbing a stairway to heaven. I'm on my way up, can't pull me down. Your loving goes right to my head, then I fly. The gravity tries to convince me I'm better off down there on the ground, but I don't care. You can find me up here. It's you.
Killer track, man. Just totally your vibe. Really like future kind of just feel good track. I think the vocals are fantastic. Always getting good reactions when I play it out in the club. So awesome track, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and I think and everyone will agree is Kastra, you're really coming into your sound. Like right now, when Kastra tracks are coming out, like people know that that's a Kastra sound, and that's super important when you're trying to build your brand. So we're just excited to kind of have you on and talk about it.
The track was done like last August, and then it kind of was the next logical follow up to You and Me, which was super hot on the radio at the time. So the timing kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, so tell me about that You and Me track. You did that with 2DB?
That's right. So awesome guys, really talented producers. We got in the studio probably maybe this time last year, and track came really easily. We originally wrote with Brendan singing on it, so we just wrote it around that, and then we just had to get a singer on it. We were looking for a girl because his voice was very deep, and we found Evangelia, who's just fantastic. And the song went out on Strange Fruits, did really good. Probably about 300,000 on Spotify at the time. And then when it went to radio, it got picked up by BPM. It soared over 1 million, and it's crazy, man. We hit, I think, number 8 on Billboard earlier this year, and it was just out of control. And you could see this direct spike, just what happens when you get a song that goes on radio and it does that well. You could look at like the Shazams, and it went just like that. It was like a 600% increase or something in a week, and the stats were just mind blowing. And you would go to the YouTube channels and be like, "Oh, I heard this on Sirius XM." So, just lots of love for those guys getting behind it. It definitely helped us a lot. It's my first track to hit, Billboard top 10. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, and you've been grinding for a while, man. So you totally deserve it. And that track really hit. It was a great radio track as well, because I remember I heard it on Sirius XM myself, and I'm like, oh man, and I remember Chris and I were in the car, and I texted over to you, and I was like,
yeah, I got so many. I mean, just because there's the BPM breaker, and my voice would come on before they played the song. I got so many people reaching out to me who were like, I had lost touch with or something. Like, dude, I heard you on Sirius. That's crazy. And I was like, I know, man, it's crazy to me too.
Yeah, we heard Ray over there on the radio. I'm just like, what? I was just with him yesterday.
Wild times, man.
That's the way it goes, man. So we'll keep it rolling here. Tell us a little bit about when you're looking for inspiration or artists that you look up to. Just name a few, or just in general, what inspires you to kind of write your tunes and your music.
Yeah, just like any other artist, it's definitely a combination of things. I'm really into the Hexagon stuff, Don Diablo's label. That's just really cutting edge stuff. They're always pushing it in terms of sound. But like I said, I'm really into songwriting, so I've always loved like Artie and Blau's new stuff is fantastic. Really into that. But then, I also like some of the house stuff that's kind of song based, like Zookeeper's really good, or Vintage Culture. So, there's obviously a common thread in there that it's all songs. Like, I'm not really into the club bangers as much anymore, but they're all, say, like most of the stuff is cutting edge, like EDM stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there right now, actually.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, too, that you actually say, like, I'm not into the club bangers as much anymore, because that was something we kind of just spoke about with Ikon, was how they're, like, you can't really play club bangers all night in a club anymore anyway. So, like, you need this other stuff, this less energetic, this more down-tempo sometimes stuff to kind of fill in that night.
Sure, absolutely. I gotta agree with him on that.
And that future house, dancey, not punch you in the face, rager tracks, just kind of like the vibe that you're putting on now is really
yeah. I think we kind of like burned ourselves out with that in like 2013 when the whole big room thing came out. I think we might have done too much of that in that year, and then that was enough for a decade.
I could stay right there, but no, that's awesome, and I think you're producing records that are Spotify playlist ready type tracks, and I think that's where it is right now in order to get your brand up to the next level. So.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's like weird that people are making it works, like, because the algorithm picks up on it. Like, there's certain ways you need to make tracks in order to get on Spotify. Like, if somebody skips the track in the first 10 seconds, it hurts you in the algorithm. So it's like you got to get right to the point. That's why songs keep getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, people know what they're doing. You know what I mean? There's a reason that songs are structured the way that they are.
Yeah, I think we had talked about this a few months ago. You sent over that whole video on YouTube about Old Town Road and how like the
Yeah, that was
structure of that
crazy.
song was ideal because no one was skipping it because it like went
Right.
right into the hook.
It's only a minute. It goes right into the hook, and there's only like a minute and 50 seconds long. And instead of going to a bridge and then back into the chorus, it just stops. So like, if you want to feel like you listen to an entire 3.5 minute song, you got to play it again, and each stream is counted exactly the same. So it's wild. People just keep listening to it over and over and over again.
Right. It's like play the game. So for anyone that's watching right now, Ray, what would be a tip you could give a young producer that's looking to write songs like you, like just in general, if they're looking for some creative inspiration, you know, either on the keys, on the bass, like just some tips for like a young producer who might be tuned in tonight listening to you.
I mean, a great way to learn is to just try to copy songs. Like when I was first trying to like learn this, because you're just trying to get comfortable with the software in the beginning. So a great way to learn is like put a song into Ableton or Logic, whatever you're using, and just try to like copy it, right? Not something you're going to release, but just a way to learn. And you can see how the song progresses as far as percussion and chords and everything, and how it ascends and de-escalates and stuff. So that would be a great way to do it. If you're not a musician in the classical sense of the word, like you don't know your your music theory or anything like that, that's definitely a great thing to learn. It's so hard, man. I feel like for people who, like, I am a musician by trade, like I've been doing this for a long time and I do know music theory and everything. I would imagine just starting out now, if I didn't know anything, that would be really difficult because you got to learn the engineering side of the program, which is extremely difficult, but also the songwriting process and music theory. And all three of those things are daunting tasks by themselves, but to do them all at the same time is extremely difficult. So I would say maybe try to conquer each one of those things independently, work on your songwriting. Your mixes don't have to be awesome. You can always pay somebody to do that. But
Was
I mean,
that a
the
plug?
most important thing is that it's a great song.
Was that a plug, Ray?
Everything else you can work on.
Was that a plug? Pay
Was that-
someone to do that? Was that a plug?
What? Yeah, I mean, I've been busier this week than I ever have been, just because so many people are stuck in their studios just making music. I've mixed like more records in the last week and a half than I have in like the last month.
That's great, man. If anyone has
Yeah.
any records you need mastered, send them to Ray. They come out fire every time.
Thanks, brother.
Every time. Engineering on point. Yeah, I think those are some like invaluable gems for people that are listening that are trying to break in. You broke it into like three really distinct pieces. And we, in some earlier episodes, we were talking with other artists about like, don't try to rush it. If you go to school for 4 years to become a lawyer, it takes 4 years to learn that trade and become, even novice, right? After 4 years, you're still novice. So I think the tone
sure,
here
man.
from all artists is you got to work at this for a certain period of time to get better at it. Don't expect to watch one YouTube tutorial and then you're popping out tracks.
You got to just do a lot of work. It's like anything else. It's like, DJing, you suck in the beginning, but everyone sucks in the beginning. You got to keep doing it and doing it. So it's like, you got to just keep making bad songs until one day you made like an okay song, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you make more okay songs, and all of a sudden the tracks are good, and then you just have to do a lot of work. You have to, and just try to finish all your tracks. I always tell you that, dude. Like, you need to be able to have like a baseline of where you were and it helps you keep going, right? It's like people are lifting weights; they take a before picture. You know what I mean? So you can look back at it in a year and see where you were.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of really great advice. I think a lot of that can be applied to a lot of things in life, but I feel like people constantly kind of miss that point when it comes to music. I don't know why, but like
it's because it's a creative thing. It's easy to just get like lost. You know what I mean? And like lost in your computer, and you don't remember why you were doing it in the first place. I don't know. But for me, when when it's your job, it's like I try to keep everything very structured and. It just helps me, like I try to treat it like a job.
Yeah, so talk to me about a day in the life with Kastra. It's a Monday morning. You're waking up. What time? And
It's pretty. I mean, Monday through Friday is pretty boring, dude. I get up like most people, probably like 7:30 or 8, and then I eat breakfast, and then I just in the studio all day do my emails. I'll do whatever. Like I do like obviously a lot of mashups that I'm sure you guys have seen. And then I'll do those in the beginning, and then any mixing work that, like I do mixes for people all over the world. So it's like if they're in China or something, there might be notes on something that I've got to change, and I'll try to do it in the morning because it's whatever time over there. So I'll do that, and then I try to get all my like work-based stuff done, and then that'll bring me to about lunchtime. So I eat lunch and then come back and then work on my own music and try to get in like the creative process until like my girlfriend gets home, and then we eat dinner, and then we unwind, and then go to bed, and then start all over.
That's it. Eat, sleep, rave, repeat, man. I think that's what.
Yeah, dude. It's not. It doesn't look fun, but it's what works. You got to just keep a structure.
Yeah, and Icon made a really good point earlier. He was like, it's just easy to get into the partying mode and waking up hungover, and then you start to just lose, like you start to just burn the hours.
Absolutely.
And, I think everyone's been there, right? We've all had those like fun party weekends, and then you lose Monday, and then Tuesday you get like a half day in, and it's just you're eating up your creative time.
Absolutely, and it's like not to say that you can't have one of those here and there, but if it starts becoming like a habit, then it's going to totally eat into your productivity.
Yeah, dude, 1,000%. So we'll keep it moving. Tell me about, or do you have a favorite song right now other than something that you've produced?
Yeah, absolutely. The new Brooks song is "Say a Little Prayer." That dude just has like an incredible ability of how to like take a simple melody and just drive it home for the entire song. Like a song like I Do, he did with David Guetta.
Yep,
it's just it's huge, and it works everywhere. It was hit on the radio, it was hitting the clubs, it was hitting in festivals. It just works everywhere because it's just simplicity executed so perfectly.
It's like these huge, simple. It's like huge sounds, just simple chords.
Yeah, it's like levels is simple, right? It's just the same thing over and over and over again, right?
It's like Fisher, simple always wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's just if you have a great melody and then just dress it up with tough production and stuff, which is exactly what he does. It's just so well executed. His songs are always like that. The melody is always good. The vocal on that track isn't even like that prominent. There's only like a few words to it, and it just works, man. He's a great producer to learn from.
Yeah, that's killer.
That's good advice. Yeah.
So you have any are you working on any projects right now that will be coming up soon? Anything you want to plug?
Absolutely.
Any secret collabs
you should
know about?
So I've got a couple of remixes. I just did one for a friend of mine. His name is GT Afice. That will be coming out maybe at the end of the month, maybe in like a week or two. I've got an original song coming out on Suave Records. That will be called Circles. That will be my next single. That'll probably be, I think that's in early May. It's kind of a weird time to release music now, though, just because, I don't know if you saw, but streaming is way down across the board. It just seems weird, like a weird time to release stuff. So a lot of people are kind of pumping the brakes on things for a minute. And then I've got a remix for Arm & Hammer, who's a duo out of somewhere in Asia, I believe. That's coming out on Dimac. And then I'll have one more original release going into the summer, one that I don't want to announce yet, but one that I'm super excited about that we're really going to try to make another push to radio for.
Good, man. Well, a bunch of really positive stuff going on, and I think everyone's got to take advantage of right now just having the time to focus on this stuff, right?
Absolutely. Now is more than ever the time for you to buckle down and try to get the hang of it and try to get some momentum so that when you do go back to work full time or whatever, that you remember where you were and you don't want to go backwards. You know what I mean?
That 1,000%, and use all those tools like we talked about. Is if you hear like a Kastra track, and for the people that are listening now is you want to write like Kastra, you want to get those sounds. Just use YouTube, use the internet, Google it. Pull in a Kastra track into your DAW and just work tirelessly to recreate those sounds.
I can't stress YouTube enough. When I first started, YouTube was like barely a thing. There's one dude, Ryan Nzad, who used to make production tutorials. Everything else was, you couldn't find him. And now it's, you can go on and literally see Retrovision making a track. It's like out of control. And so many of these guys are doing it. And regardless of what, DAW you're using, you can always take something away from it.
Yeah. And there's one myth I want to debunk sort of as I personally been on this journey, and Ray's been on this journey for a long time as well, is there's no secret plug-in, there's no secret magical tool or special computer or anything. It's really just songwriting, musical theory, right, and your engineering. I think are the three
Absolutely.
things that come together.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the illusion that you think when you first start getting into music, right? It's like if I get this one plugin, I'll be good. It's like that's not it. You honestly, you just need one synthesizer. If you can master one synthesizer, that's better than having 5 ones you don't know how to use. You know what I mean? They all essentially do the same thing. It's just some of them have different waveforms and wavetables, and it's a lot simpler than people make it out to be. It's just you got to like execute it with what you have.
Yeah, no, that's really good feedback. So tell us, I know the theme of today's episode was traveling DJs. You recently, in the past couple months, had some pretty good trips, right? You were out, I think, in Alaska, then where you were Connecticut.
Yeah,
then
dude,
you
that
went
was
out to
fun.
Austin.
It was crazy. So that was in October. It really wasn't that much colder than it is here. It was for Halloween, and they were super nice. It was a crazy travel though. All the way out to Seattle. Then you hop a plane from Seattle to Alaska, and then to the gig, and then turned right around and came home. And it was fun, man. When you go to like places like that or small areas, they're just so grateful to have people coming and playing. It's not like New York or even New Jersey. It's like you can always go see somebody if you want to go see somebody. There, it's very limited.
Yeah, that's a killer gig. I know you go out to the West Coast out that way a lot. And,
yeah, it was super fun, man. I would definitely go back. I'd kind of like to go back in the summer just to see what it's like because it's just so beautiful. But it was really cool. The people were super nice and they partied so hard. They got after it so hard.
Oh, I believe it. They're out there for sure. I mean, Alaska's
for sure.
So Ray, how would you compare your East Coast sets versus your West Coast sets? Would you say they're any different, or would you say they're very similar?
I would say no. I mean, where you go in the country is totally different. Like obviously on the borders, like everything's a little bit more like housey. When you go into like Middle America, it's very like bass heavy. There's a lot of dubstep. There's a lot of like trap music and stuff. There's so many underground shows that are going on in Middle America for dubstep and trap music at all times. So if you're like anywhere around water, you're usually good with house music, right? Like Miami, New York, LA. So like around the coast, you're usually in that area. But once you start getting in the middle, it's a lot heavier. It's a lot harder.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting that you say that because you're saying like inner and outer and how that affects their music. But
it's happening with house music too now though. Like you'll see, it's just I shouldn't say harder or heavier. It's just more underground. It's like there's a lot of underground house shows that are happening right now all over the country, and especially in the Midwest and stuff like that. It's just or in the South. It's different. It's weird to see how it's evolved. When I first started traveling for shows, it was completely different.
Yeah. So Ray, I know you mentioned before you got another track coming out on Dim Mak that I think we lined up here to play that one as well. So can you tell me a little bit about that track real quick?
Sure. This is a remix, and this is I wanted you to play this song because it's totally different. It's actually a totally different style for me. So when I get a remix, I have to kind of base it around the BPM of the original track, which is this one was 155 actually. So that doesn't really lend itself well to house music. So I couldn't really get it to that 126 BPM that I usually work at. So I was like, all right, this is a chance to try something new. And so I did it at about 102, and it's in this more kind of synth wavy progressive sound. It's like it's very futuristic. It's got a lot of like 80s vibes to it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is the girl who sang on this track is a girl named Kara, Karra. She actually went to my high school.
Oh,
She's
wow.
like all over the place now. She's done tracks with literally everyone. She's absolutely killing it. So it's this group called Arm & Hammer, and they just dropped an album, so they were looking for remixes. So they said, pick a track you want to remix, and I picked this one because that girl was on it, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It's a lot slower than most of my music, but it's pretty cool. It's definitely on brand for me now.
Yeah, it's definitely like a cool, still Kastra, but down tempo, which is kind of cool.
For sure.
Let's
right,
give this one a quick rip.
intro the track. What's the name of it?
It's called it's a Silver Lining Kastra remix, and the original artist is Arm & Hammer.
Awesome.
never cared. I know there's a reason for this, and I'm trying to find the silver lining. The silver lining. The silver lining. Sorry, won't change all my mistakes, and I'm trying to find the silver lining.
This is so 80s. Awesome joint, Ray. I love the new vibes.
It's cool, right?
Really cool with like that arpeggiated sound. You said synthwave is the best way to put it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like dressed up with tough production in like 2020. You know what I mean? It's just updated a little bit.
It like kind of reminds me a little bit of the music in Stranger Things.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. All that music is synthwave. It's all based on like Blade Runner.
80s vibe stuff. Whenever I hear a song like that, I always think of that show. I don't know why, but
dude. Whoever did the sound on that show killed it. It's so awesome.
Incredible. Maybe they'll hire you next to do a show.
That would be awesome.
Love it, man. So that killer track, I see that. That's going to be on Mint on Spotify for sure. I can feel it now.
That would be awesome.
Big
That'd
summer.
Be fantastic.
That's a summer vibe right there. So once again, Kastra, thank you for rocking with us tonight. We got I believe we have your Instagram up on the overlay right now, so people can follow you at Kastra Music for your Instagram. Do you have a website, or where do you use your music?
Everything is at Kastra Music. So my website's kastramusic.com. Instagram, SoundCloud's
great.
Twitter, Facebook, everything's at Kastra Music.
Perfect. And for everyone that's watching, that's on the YouTube right now, we're going to put all Kastra's information populated down in the description, and we just appreciate your support. So, Ray, thank you. Everyone that's on the feed right now, make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. Hit the subscribe button right down below. And, we're going to continue rolling with it. But Kastra, killed it, man. Thanks for being on today.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, bro.
See you guys.
All right, so that wraps up episode 7 of Parlor Talk. We appreciate everyone being patient with us, and we had 2 really good artists today, DJ Ikon from the West Coast and local artist DJ Kastra putting out some really dope records. So what do we got coming up next? I'm going to give you a little information on who we have coming out on the show. Just give me a sec to pull it up here. So we got some really cool local talent coming up. Tomorrow we have episode 8, Jeff Scott and Sal Cianci from DMP. They're going to be on episode 8. And then coming up later in the week, we have local talent, RSAM, Ricky and Andrew, Power Tech Duo out of New Jersey, playing some of the biggest shows in the tri-state. And they got some exclusive releases that we're excited to play and share with you guys. And then we're going to keep it rolling. So just make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. Continue to follow us on Parlor Talk as we continue to grow, and we appreciate everyone's support. Thank you so much.